just, I'll throw this out there, the recorder's perpetuation fund balance right now is almost $160,000. The request is for $54,000. So, you know, I would,
Can I speak to that?
absolutely, yeah.
I can speak to that. I did talk to, US Imaging this morning, and there is a savings. If they come and they do mine and Donnie's at the same time, it'll be a $1,500 savings in the travel and stuff. And they can pick up the assessor's boxes to take them back to do what they need to do them, and there'll be a $750 savings on that, so that's $2,250 savings. I know I have money in my perpetuation fund, but I sign an ordinance agreement and a statement every year saying I have money in there to cover things that happen in my office. Right now, I have $70,000 already earmarked to go out for the rest of the year and the 1st of January to pay what I have to pay to operate my office. That's my salaries that I have to pay, because I pay my first deputy and my part-time out of there. That's, I already have a scanning project that I'm paying for now, and my contract with my vendor for my computer software services. So I already have $70,000 earmarked, so that would put me under the $100,000. So if my equipment would go bad, a server would go bad, I would be under what I think I need to have to feel comfortable, and what I would hope you would think I need to have to be comfortable to run my office. So that's just my thought, and that's why, and these documents that I've asked to have scanned have no backup. I have no microfilm or anything for them. So if something happens to this building, we're gonna lose the biggest part of the history, the beginning part of the history of this county. And my job as the recorder is to maintain and preserve the documents of Carroll County. And that's why I've asked for this money. And if you read the American Rescue Plan, it is to help with offices like ours to do some of this that we're working on a little at a time. So that's why I'm asking for the money. Like I said, I'm already paying for a $20,000 project right now.
So when you say scanning, I mean, like, how far back? I mean, is this the scanning we need to be caught up?
Is this the scanning we need to be caught up? I mean, we're working on scanning every day. This is documents, this is from 1828,
That's what I'm asking.
from the beginning, and the only thing I have is books. I have no microfilm or anything of that stuff. So if something happens, this is getting done. Right now, we're putting in 1966 and 67 deeds. When I came into this office, we were on the computer to 94. We've backloaded over 34,000 documents, just us doing what we do daily.
I understand that. The question is, okay, take for example.
Is this
Donnie-
everything?
Is this it? I mean.
No, there's gonna be a gap. There's a gap.
So that's my
A
question
gap
of how many years? I mean, for $50,000, I don't know, I mean, what catches us up?
Well, I'm
Like,
working on a
Donnie-
$20,000 project right now, and it's taken me from 84 to 68 in miscellaneous documents. So, and then
So
this
like
was,
Donnie, you haven't done any scanning in your office?
No, I mean, all our section corners,
Nothing.
all ditch records, everything, nothing's been.
Yeah.
So what
Mine's
does-
a one-time,
What does this do for you?
it does everything.
This is completely caught up to
Yeah, I mean,
2022.
if there's little stuff, we can scan little stuff, but we're talking several thousand documents here.
And then what about the assessor's office? Does this catch the assessor's office completely up?
I don't know.
I mean, that's my question. How much scanning are you getting for $50,000-$60,000?
So, I didn't hear an answer to that, so we're going from 1828 forward to what year?
I'd have to go look and see what my last date is on my deed books, and then I can tell you from the miscellaneous the miscellaneous would be, I think, 1872 to 1968.
And then you're doing 68 to 74, so we still have a 74 to 2022
Well,
gap.
I'm not in miscellaneous. If I do this, all my miscellaneous will be done, because miscellaneous used to be done in the deed books. Everything was done in the deed book, and then they started splitting them out into separate books. So I have a miscellaneous book that starts at 1872, and that would get me from 1872 to 1968, because I'm working on a project right now from 68 to 84, and I'm paying for that.
So why didn't you have them give you a quote for completely catching you up? with besides the project you were working on?
Because that was the reason why I pay a part-timer and we do the rest of it during the time. I mean, I could go back and I could ask for that, but it would be, I mean, that's what we do when we're not busy with other things in our office. We don't sit there and we're not twiddling our thumbs while we're not doing stuff. We
So if you
continually
did
back
get
up.
caught up, that would kinda push aside your part-time person, cause that's what she does.
Yeah. I mean, until I get my plats scanned, because I have plats that need to be scanned as well. And that's why I have the format scanner, cause we scan everything that when we pull something out of a sleeve, and we've got 3 cabinets completely scanned that weren't scanned. And every time we pull something out to make a copy for somebody, we scan it and we put it on a jump drive, and it's there so people can search it until we get it all indexed and put in our system.
Is maybe downstairs, I'd like to know if that's the full amount to get the assessor completely caught up.
Nada's not here today.
What would maybe want to know?
Well, well,
Cause there's a big difference in, like, ours, 54, there's 10 more thousand in the assessor's office. I'd just like to know.
Her stuff is different than what she's, so that's probably a lot of it too.
Well, I just wanted to know if it catches them all up, like Donnie says he's gonna be caught up and they can scan as they go then.
And I can tell you that our microfilm on our deeds goes back to book 87. So we do have microfilm back to 87 on our deeds, but so that gives me but it's not in the system, it's not searchable online. But, so A through Z would be what I'm asking to have microfilmed or scanned now, and we don't have that, no backup of that at all. And I have back to 87 in my deeds. That's microfilmed, and that's what we're working on.
I know
To
this
get put
question
in.
has probably been asked before, but how many people do you have that come in that search for back in the 1800s or whatever you're talking about scanning, I think?
But that's not the point. The point is to preserve and maintain the documents of this county. If we lose those, people can't do a 100-year search on their property if they wanna get a homestead. Those books are used when people come in and do 100-year searches.
That's what
Or
I
do
mean,
a
they can
200-year
do a
search.
100-year search, they just can't do it online.
Right, but if something happens to this building, they're gone. There's nothing there backing them up. And that's my job as a recorder, as every recorder in the state of Indiana, is to maintain and preserve the documents of the county. And I'm just asking, $54,000 out of $3.9 million that the county's getting, why aren't you interested in saving and preserving the legal documents of this county?
Oh, I am, I want everybody to be up to 2022, that's the problem with, I'm asking is, if we're gonna do it, I want it completely done and completely caught up.
So you want me to go ask them to give me a quote on doing everything from that point to where we're at now?
I mean,
it's a fair question.
yeah, it is. I don't understand how much scanning you have left to do, because you came back for, 3 or 4 years with your part-time person, so I can't understand it completely of how much you have to do. Because I know you see it and you know it, but you say I have book A to Z, that is foreign knowledge to me. I don't understand how much you have left to do. I'm just saying, if you can get it all scanned and caught up to date, why would you not wanna do that if you can get it funded? And I
Fair
see
question.
why you're going to possibly have to lose your part-time person. But that's why I'm asking the question is, why would you not wanna get it all completely done and caught up and be finished with it?
Well, could we go ahead and approve what we're doing, and then she can get back with us at the
Why
next
would we
meeting?
do that?
Why?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, but I have a broader question, like, I can think of $25 million of good ideas. We are being asked to approve the first ideas, without saying what, if this gets done, what's not going to get done, and there is something else that is not going to get done because we approved this. So there's no prioritization of this, it's first come, first served. I'm not in favor of that. I mean, for a tenth of the amount of money that we have in ARP, we formed a task force and debated it ad nauseum, how we were gonna appropriate $600,000, and now we've got $4 million, and we're just like, meh, whoever comes can have it. That doesn't make any sense. We need to act, judiciously with, I mean, this is not our money, this is the taxpayers' money, this is our county people's money, our citizens' money, and we need to use it judiciously, and this might be the best use of it, I have absolutely no idea. We've debated other things for months and months and months, like the broadband issue that came up at how many meetings in a row. But like to just have this on the agenda one day and go, "Whoop, yep, done," because it's only 150 of 4 million, it seems like a crazy, idea from my perspective today.
I'll just say off what Penny is saying, when there was the fire at the courthouse, the office lost at least 4, if not 6 books that are gone. So if somebody comes in and wants that information, and a lot of, if they're the marriage books, they're needing to verify a marriage, I have nothing to give them. So if they are needing proof, they're out of luck. They don't have any proof, because that record is gone. I mean, eventually, my office is gonna have to be compliant with everything is one way accessible. So it's either internet, or downloaded, or books. You have to get it to one complete format. And we've been working on our office, and yeah, I don't know how much it would take to get our office current. Cause our books go back to the 1800s, we hadn't even touched those.
I think that's kind of what Josh's point is.
I mean, we haven't even touched those.
We have other offices that are probably gonna head up next and say,
I
well,
mean, this
you
might be,
used it for
might be
3
$500,000
offices.
a request by the time you get it all done, to get all the records, all digitized for the whole courthouse. And you went from, oh, it's only 150 to now it's, oh, it's 500,000, it's a material percentage of the money that we have. Is that the priority of the money? Are you putting that over, you are putting it over something else, period. So, like, there is more than $4 million of ideas, or things that it could be spent on. So is this the most important? That's a question that hasn't even been debated.
I'd like to call for a vote.
Call for a vote. We've got a motion, by Ethan Brown, second by Paul Ryder, to approve all 3, is that correct? All 3 American Rescue Plan amounts for the recorder, the surveyor, and the assessor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. 2. Those opposed signify, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails, 5-2. And I think, probably going forward, I would say that it's probably not an absolutely, dead issue, for those of you who want to get things scanned. I think Tracy had a very good point about, is this gonna leave gaps, is it gonna leave holes, what other things can we do, to potentially get those worked out. And I understand Josh in stating that, this is first cat out of the box in, trying to approve some of this American Rescue Plan money. There are an awful lot of good ideas, so. Okay, that brings us down to, advertise out of county general, $60,000 for repeaters. Mike, if you would come up and address the council, please.
So the repeater system, the VHF system is, and the VHF is what the fire departments run off of. They're slowly going to 800, but that's what we tone all the fire departments and the EMS on. It's also a backup radio system if the 800s go down. Right now, the Harley Tower, which is east out there off of 421 out there, the big tower, is our main tower for the county. For the last there's been problems with it since before I came here. A lot of static. They've been spending a lot of money on maintenance of the equipment that's in there. It's getting close to the end of its life.
Who's they?
Dispatch.
Our dispatch.
Our dispatch, county dispatch, because they're responsible for the maintenance of that. So one of the ways to, how it's ran right now, it's ran through phone lines. It's when you do it, it's 3.5 miles as the crow flies from dispatch out there. So if you do it by how the phone lines are ran, you're probably looking at about 10-mile phone line. They're spliced. The phone lines these days are made with a material that attracts the rodents to it, to eat it, and that. So if any of you listen to the pagers, especially when it's wet, it's static, you can't hear the voice. Sometimes the tones are really, really bad. And I'm sure you've heard from the first responders when they came in and complained about it as well. So we've been working on this for a while. The way to rectify that problem is to basically turn that into a large repeater. We got the permission from the commissioners back in March to research this. I finally got all the quotes. Like I said before the meeting, Raycom sent me their quote last night. 3 companies, Advanced Radio, J&K, and Raycom are the 3 that sent in quotes for me. What we're looking to do is get rid of the phone line completely. So what that'll do is end up getting rid of the cost of that phone line. And I don't remember what Director Turner said the cost was. I think it's like $300 a month is what we're paying. And she couldn't even get a definite number. That was just an estimate of going through and figuring out what the deadhead number is on that. And what I mean by deadhead is there's not an actual phone number assigned to that line because they just deadheads out to that radio tower. So when we look at the phone bill, whatever extra cost is over the numbered bills for the county off of Frontier, that's how we figured out what the bill is. It could be more. So by making it a repeater, we get rid of that cost. We'll be running the tower from off a portion of the tower that I got. We're putting an antenna up off of that, and it'll bounce out to that, making it a repeater. And then we'll reprogram the radios for the fire departments inside the ambulances and the law enforcement vehicles that have the VHF still. And it'll actually increase their capabilities as well, so they'll be able to talk more throughout the county. Because right now, as it stands, if I'm in Burlington, I can hear dispatch, and they can hear me talking, but I can hear dispatch, but I can't, if they're talking to Burlington, I can't hear Burlington's response. So by doing this, I'll be able to hear what Burlington is saying back to them.
This is only UHF.
VHF.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is,
only
this is the VHF side. So remember when we did the big 800 project when I got here in 18? That was the 800 side. This is the VHF side of it, which is the other 50%.
So why are we investing in like an antiquated technology?
Majority of your volunteer fire departments, 5 out of the 7 really cannot afford to go to the 800.
So what does that number look like to get them to do it?
When I went to put the quote in, when I asked for a quote to take all fire departments to 800 just on portable radios, it was $700,000 on my grant, and I could only cap out at 150. So if I was gonna do that on a grant, it would take me, and that's not even guaranteed that I get that grant, it would take me the next 8 to 9 years just on portable radios to get them up. It would take me, and then another 4 years after that with no price increases to get them up on their mobiles.
But they're investing in their own VHF or UHF.
They're
Wait, what is it? VHF. They're investing in their own VHF annually because that's,
It's cheap. And it's just, Burroughs is getting ready to update their VHF repeaters, or not their repeaters, their pagers. because the dual VHF 800 pagers that they use to tone up the firemen, you know, they want the little pager, does not get it. The dual band pagers are relatively new, and according to one of the departments that has them, they're gonna go through a great recession on that side.
On what side?
On the 800 side. So the VHF is the better. That travels, the way the band travels is, well, 800 goes like this, VHF goes
Is this a one-time expense, or we're gonna have to spend for every vehicle or fire department or so forth?
So within that's, the quotes are, so ARC is 44,000 to get up the system set up. J&K is 39,1, and Raycom is 39,4. The commissioners asked for 60, and that would help program all the VHF radios for county law enforcement, EMS, and the volunteer fire departments. And I'm working a deal with them. One company wants to do $45 per radio, and then I've got one that's agreed to charge by the hour, where we can do about 15 radios per hour.
Is this a one-time expense?
Yes.
So the hardware is just one time?
Hardware is one time.
Okay. And the company that you end up going with, whether it's Raycom or J&K or whomever, will they be responsible for, programming?
The reprogramming?
Yes. Okay.
Motion to approve the 60,000.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve 60,000, for the hardware for the repeaters to alleviate the phone lines and, go with a VHF system from dispatch out to the Harley Top.
What did you say the monthly cost on those phone lines is? Did you say 300?
It's right at I don't have a definite number, but it's roughly like 300 a month for that one.
What's
phone
the
line.
life expectancy of this, oh, sorry.
No, that's fine, I'm done.
What's the life expectancy of this equipment?
We should look at 15 to 20 years. As long as the maintenance fee stays up.
Okay. Any other questions?
So what we're really buying is just a better working VHS system.
We're updating
VHF.
the VHF system that's in there, because it's at its life expectancy. And that was bought 10, 15 years ago. I can't find out when they bought it, that record, I can't find it. That's 911 side of the house system, I think.
So, yeah, and this is, I mean, I know this is coming to you as the fire component of it, kind of floats into EMA, but like, this seems like it's a dispatch kind of issue, radio communications, is that, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, who should really own this?
Don't look at me.
I just heard somebody say something behind me, so I didn't know who it was. I didn't hear what they exactly said. The community, I mean, emergency management touches every component of the first responders and that. The overall, the overall responsibility of maintaining these once it gets installed, so lies in dispatch. If you're looking for someone to take over, you need a strong leader in all your departments, and that's all. That's the further I'm gonna go on that.
Is there a reason why it needs to be an additional, or why aren't we budgeting for it and then getting it January? When is all
Well,
this equipment?
and this was my question, this is, I glanced at your previous, plan, your, capital plan. This wasn't,
3 years ago.
yeah, this wasn't anywhere in your 5 or your plan for that. also see anything from dispatch in terms of this, in terms of capital budgeting, so we budget for capital expenditures for
There-
dispatch.
There was no,
When the commissioners, when he approached the commissioners, they approved it saying, let's send it to the council, and they can spend it wherever they would like. Okay, they mentioned Riverboat, they mentioned Rainy Day, they mentioned County General, and there was one other. But anyway, I couldn't advertise it like that. I had to advertise it from something, so they decided on County General in his budget. So if you guys would like to take that from somewhere else, it's not gonna matter where it gets paid, but he has been instrumental of trying to get it fixed. Is that correct? What I'm trying to say?
it's fallen on me.
Fell to him, okay?
And no, I did not, to answer your question on, did I address it in my capital improvement plan originally in 2019? No, I did not. I thought that it would have been addressed in other departments. And that,
That's really what I was getting at, like,
no, I didn't address it in mine.
So
Well,
are you kinda saying that, you
But
know,
the capital
can we
improvement-
budget it for like 911
well, I mean,
for next year? Is that what
think
you're
about
going
what our
for?
budget is, right? I mean,
Yes.
Like we need, like, we set this up, we set up the budget for 911 such that the $1 million or whatever it was we spent on radios and stuff, or it was hundreds of thousands, not millions, but the hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent 2-3 years ago, whatever it was, we budgeted so that in 8 or 10 years, whatever the life expectancy of that equipment was, that we had that money in the fund at the end of that time period to reinvest in that equipment, so that we didn't have the same problem we had last time, where we had 40-year-old equipment and no money to pay for it, no budgeted money
On
to
the
pay
800 system.
on the 800 system. So, that being done, I think we did a pretty good job of budgeting for that site. Now, this is a whole new site that hasn't ever been brought up before, we've never talked about it, so if we just willy-nilly approve $60,000, which I'm not before or against, we have not fixed the core problem of budgeting correctly for a problem that we will have in another 10 or 15 years. It needs to be budgeted, appropriated, it needs to be budgeted, and then look at the future needs and so that we begin to save for that 10 or 15 year mark when we are going to do this, if we decide that this is something that is the county's responsibility to manage in perpetuity on this system. That's my broader point.
So when would this equipment be coming in? When would it be ordered? The reason I'm asking the question is everything that we seem to order in the world today doesn't come until 10 to 12 months later. So if you order it, if it's not coming until next year, my thought is, why can't we budget for it? If you're not gonna need the money till next year again, instead of having.
I gotta find out from the commissioners which one they're gonna go with, and then I can ask them out of them. The repeaters and that should take a couple months, we should be able to work on and install by the end of the year. I can't guarantee that because of supply chain issues. You know, my grant from last year, where I got the 700 repeater, still has not came in. And that, but my radio, the radio piece is here, but the repeater's not here. And that's for that portable repeater.
Are they gonna request the payment for 60,000 in full without a guarantee date, or that might be another question to find out also?
I've already got my list of questions for them. And that, but also, sir, also on the capital improvement plan, after we turned that in and met with you guys, that was the last any of the department heads ever heard of anything on our capital improvement plan. So we had no way to even start looking at what we needed to move forward in our stuff. As far as we knew, we turned in a plan and that was on any of the equipment that I had put into my capital improvement plan that I had received that I'd gotten off of grants.
Yeah, no, I understand. And this really, that my question about the capital improvement plan is really focused on whose long-term obligation is this? Is it yours? I mean, this is being requested out of your budget. So are you the one that that we need to appropriate money for in perpetuity to make sure that it is funded, not just Band-Aid?
Well, I think you already made a comment that this part about dispatch.
Right.
I understand the fact of budgeting these things forward. We've got an issue with the phone lines, high static, down phone lines, whatever the case may be. Initially, this will buy, purchase and get us up and going. Budgeting 10 or 15 years out into the future, we can begin doing that now. I mean, even if we say, well, let's budget it for next year, you're still looking at an initial hit of $60,000 without putting 5,000 or 8,000 or 10,000 back each year, sequentially for X number of years, but then for a replacement. So I think budgeting, we can certainly look forward to the next 10, 12, 15 years of replacing this thing, moving forward. But initially, the hard purchase of this is going to hit us immediately, whether it be right now or whether it be for next year.
I don't understand your point.
Well, I
You're
mean,
gonna be in the same predicament as you are with the ambulances, that you're gonna have to encumber it if you go ahead and do the money now. That's why I'm asking if he has an initial date to receive, because you're in the same
well, and I
spot.
think if we do appropriate it, we can, and we don't happen to have the equipment, and we don't have a bill for the equipment, we can certainly encumber it at the end of the year.
But we're getting ready to do a budget.
This is
We're
my broader
getting ready
point,
to
like-
do a budget in less than 45 days.
Yeah.
So if we can budget it in for 911, why would you wanna do an additional now when the equipment is probably not going to be here anyway, and you can budget it?
Well, and Scott's point, I think, is that it doesn't matter if it comes out of county general or 911, kinda does. But, I mean, could we afford it? Yeah, sure we can. Are we gonna forget about it? Probably will, because that's what happens over and over and over again. We appropriate something, we forget about it at budget time, nothing gets, nothing changes, and then we wonder why we have problems 10 years down the road, because we didn't fundamentally budget for an ongoing expense. So, like, I'm not speaking for or against this expenditure, what I'm saying is, like, if you don't, today, when you make the expenditure, commit to some other mechanism, then you're gonna forget, and we're gonna have the same problem that we have over and over again, where we just are not budgeting effectively.
And I think that's where he comes when he says they did capital improvement plans and nobody followed through with them. So I would rather see it come at budget and we budget it, and then you,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I don't know if somebody's gonna die tomorrow if we don't get the system put in, I don't know what the level of urgency is. But, like, I don't know that this is if we punt this 30 days and do a good job instead of just saying, oh, well, it's firefighter, it's comms, we gotta do it right now, and then we don't do anything.
Communications is key and is the most vital part when it comes to dispatching anybody. And I can guarantee that if it was a 911 call for any of your guys' family members, you would wanna make sure that that is a clear call going out. I'm not saying that it's gonna fail tomorrow. I can't guarantee that. None of us can guarantee that. What I can say is if we get another good downpour, it's gonna be hard to hear.
I'm
I know
I'm
that
not
for a
against
fact.
it, I just think we need to stick to our budgeting and
like a culvert. We have
I just wanna make a point of order. No member of this council can call for a vote. You can call for question, and that's something that has to be voted on as a, when you say call for question, you are ending debate. And no member of this board has the authority to end debate. I just wanna make that really super clear.
And he raised the question, the chair recognized it, if you want to appeal the chair's decision, you can certainly do that, but once the chair recognizes, you're right technically, one individual, once the chair rules, then you can appeal
I
the
don't know
chair.
that this body's ever given the chair the authority to call for question. I think that it's still a board.
The chair can make a ruling, if you disagree with the ruling, you can disagree with it. I think the body that I've seen over these years I've been involved has always been able to work it through and decide when we're done with the debate, so I don't think it's a really hot issue that needs to be debated in parliamentary procedure, because I think you folks have always worked your way through it, and I would suggest you continue to do so.
Well, I will open back up for. Yes, Jack?
I'd just like to make a comment, just kinda to what Tracy's saying. If you don't approve this appropriation, he legally can't place the order. If you put it in the 2023 budget, he shouldn't place the order until January of 2023, because that's when the money becomes available. If you don't give him the availability of the money now, he's putting it off, the quotes are going up, the lead time may go out. That's what makes this, yes, the following Josh, budgeting for maintaining it, yeah, that needs to go into next year's budget. But do you wanna push this out another 5 months before you even order it?
If I understand right, he doesn't even know what he's ordering.
I know what, your components are there, they're in the quotes,
But the commissioners have not said what they're going to order.
which company they're going with, they haven't said.
And they'll have a meeting on the 1st.
I'm not concerned, about us forgetting about this going forward. And I would, either yourself or, 911 dispatch, should bring that to our attention when we look at the budget this fall. Any further discussion?
Well, it seems like we're gonna have to spend the money, because when it rains and the system gets wet and, you know, there's problems, and we're looking at the safety of the county, and we've got all these people that we pay, all the sheriff's deputies, the fire departments are volunteer, but they need equipment to work with, and I think we're talking about kind of a procedural issue, you know, about why didn't you budget this, you know, there, and I sure don't wanna wait till January of 2023 to order it, so I just can't quite wrap my head around why you gotta.
Anything further?
I just wanna state very clearly for the record, I think that this is probably going to get spent. I will take exception with, the chairman has said here, that things don't get forgotten, because I can provide a list for this council of dozens, maybe hundreds of things that get forgotten. And every department, probably in the courthouse and across the county, has seen the effects of that, from the health department, where we have ongoing questions about what's being saved for vehicles and freezers and all those kinds of things, because we say, oh, this is a good idea, we should go spend this. We don't just do the extra 10% of work that it takes to nail down what that looks like on an ongoing basis. So it is a procedural, but it is an important procedure, because that's how you get 40-year-old dispatch equipment that fails on a weekend and nobody can fix it.
So I think I understand what you're saying, and I think I agree with you. Is there any measure that this council could take today that would remedy what we didn't do in previous years to prepare for this spot right here? Or is our approach only prudently to go from this day forward? Because I feel like what you're arguing is what we didn't do, and what I feel like we need to do is learn from that, but we only have from this position forward to really,
Right, and
enforce,
I'm saying,
right?
this is a poignant example of how we can do better. I don't think that there's any reason that this has to be approved today. This equipment has been functioning at whatever capacity for a given time. It doesn't sound like there's any critical event that has occurred in the past 30 days that makes this have to be action has to be taken upon it today. We can all agree that it needs to be done, and we can approach this in a systematic way that, that gives maximum benefit, provides long-term stability to the system, and provides long-term benefit to the taxpayers instead of Band-Aids and reactionary actions from this body. A great example is the 911 dispatch. We had the, again, people were gonna die if we didn't have a backup system. And that backup system is sitting in a box somewhere. So, it is still to this day not been put into service, like from my perspective, or to my knowledge. So, and the vast majority of the council voted that we had to have it today. Instead of just, taking a look at this, taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and saying, what's the right long-term strategy to make sure that this gets done? Unless there is some urgent need that something has materially changed. I just want to clarify that for the record.
Like I said before, the communication is the key. I can't tell you when the system is gonna fail. I can tell you it's getting worse every time we get rain. That's, I don't have the magical wand to say when it's gonna fail.
This is what we have. You spend the $60,000 now, and then it's fixed. And then you have to come up with a plan, which you think it'll be forgotten, you won't, and, these seats change every 4 years sometimes, so.
Or 2
until
years.
And I had started working on that Excel worksheet that you all have, that does the freezers, that does all the cars, does all the when they switch. So, that right here is a prime example that should be added to that Excel sheet, and it should be budgeted each year. There's no way to fix the 60,000 now, but you are correct, if we don't do it, what's the difference if you're gonna do it now, or if you're gonna do it, it's still gonna be the 60,000, probably more if you wait.
I'm just
I have
saying,
a
like,
question. If you have a spreadsheet that tells you, like, okay, I'm gonna pick on the health department, refrigerator. That council rep should not forget,
Exactly.
okay?
Well,
It's not, they're supposed to keep up with their departments, and so if everybody's forgetting everything, they're not really doing their departments justice. Sorry, I just have to say
that's
that.
100% true, and this is not a new problem. This is a decades-old
Right.
problem.
Right.
And but we have not created a system yet that is working properly. And the system is what this body needs to devote itself to, so that government works better for the taxpayers.
And I concur with them. We can't do anything retrospectively, we can only go from today forward. So, any further discussion? Motion and a second on the floor to approve the $60,000 purchase of VHF, depending on which company the commissioners want to go with. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
I'm sorry,
I'm
I
confused.
wasn't sure what
Say that
Tom
again.
was.
He said aye.
I said,
Okay. Yes, thank you, I couldn't see, thank you.
Go 4-3.
4-3.
that's cool.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Okay, additionals to be advertised. Do we want to look at these individually as well?
That is,
Yeah,
that's
yep.
5-2,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Five to two?
I voted
All
aye.
right,
Okay.
I'd
You
like
need to take time in your
Should we
vote.
read it, please?
All right, we will We will re-vote that. Motion and a second on the floor to approve the $60,000 for the repeater. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
So I show the vote 5-2.
5-2. Okay, the additionals to be advertised, we want to go through those individually. Yes. Okay, we take the first two for prosecutor, witness fees, transcripts, and office supplies from county general for $1,500 and $1,000. They've had two, I think they've had two murder trials and a third one coming up. They've been rather busy up on the third floor and the second floor.
We don't really debate additionals to be advertised, is there?
Pardon?
We have traditionally not debated additionals to be advertised.
True. Okay. Part of the consent. Okay,
Consent to advertise all?
Yes.
consent to advertise all? Yes. Okay, is there any additional business to come before council? Anyone from the crowd?